Hi, and welcome to another of Mr. Bench's book reviews. What's in the box today? It's nice and shiny, and it is the Frog and Toad Storybook Treasury. Now this is part of a series. It's the third of the series, so I won't introduce it too much. Watch the others if you want to get up to speed on Frog and Toad, and otherwise I will get into it. Today we're doing, let's just make sure I'm wearing a dressing gown because I'm a bit under the weather. Lost Button. That's a lost button, not just me saying lost button. It's a lost button from Frog and Toad are Friends, and it's on page 32. So let's navigate our way there. Here we go. A lost button. Toad and Frog. It's a great way to start. I've mentioned this before, but they often introduce both Frog and Toad very early on, and you can't get much earlier on than both Toad and Frog in the first line. I also quite like the way they put Toad first, because obviously in the book they've opted for Frog first. But it makes it clear that it's not always just Frog and Toad. You know, you could have Ben and Bill, the flower pot people. And this is Toad and Frog, why not? Both going for a walk. So that's nice. Sorry, I haven't even got to the end of the first sentence yet. Anyway, Toad and Frog went for a long walk. They walked across a large meadow. They walked in the woods. This is good. It's making clear that it is a long walk if they're walking in different places, some of them large. They walked along the river. At last, because it was long, they went back home to Toad's house. Seemed to spend a lot of time at Toad's house. A couple of the other ones, they were located in Toad's house. I don't know if Frog had their house. We'll see, probably in the other stores. Anyway, they've gone back home to Toad's house. Oh, drat, said Toad. Drat. Quite like these expressions of disgust. Not only do my feet hurt, complaining, but I have lost one of the buttons on my jacket. Oh, that is a thing to curse about, I suppose. Don't worry, said Frog, positive. We will go back to all the places where we walked. Well, it won't help the feet hurting problem, but it might help the button loss problem. We will soon find your button. They walked back to the large meadow. So they're going back to the first place first, which is slightly odd, but maybe... I don't really know the geography. They began to look for the button in the tall grass. Here is your button. That was good, cried Frog. That is not my button, said Toad. That button is black. My button was white. Toad put the black button in his pocket. So he's having it, nevertheless. Even though it's wrong. The wrong colour. Okay. A sparrow flew down. Oh. Well, I'll show you this because you can see the enormity of this sparrow. I mean, it's towering over... Where are we? Here. It's towering over Toad. I guess frogs and toads can be quite small. And these ones seem to be. Excuse me, said the sparrow. Did you lose a button? I found one. So the sparrow's been eavesdropping. Oh, you can even see the button in its beak. It seems to be white as well. That is not my button, said Toad. That button has 2 holes. My button had 4 holes. Not enough holes. Toad put the button with 2 holes in his pocket. He's got 2 buttons in his pocket now. They went back to the woods and looked on the dark paths. Are these all the places they said they'd walked? They said meadow, and then they said woods, and then they said river, and then they said home. So we can see if they got all the places. Here is your button, said Frog. Oh, lots of buttons. That is not my button, cried Toad. That button is small. My button was big. Toad put the small button in his pocket. So you had the wrong colour, the wrong number of holes, and the wrong size. That's unfortunate. Don't know who's losing all these other buttons. A raccoon came out from behind a tree. Well, The raccoon is absolutely monstrous compared to the toad. I'd be terrified if I were a toad. But they all seem quite friendly with one another. I heard that you were looking for a button, he said. It's the raccoon. Here is one that I just found. That is not my button, wailed Toad. He's wailing now, you see. I don't know if you've noticed, there's also been degrees of reaction. To him when he just said it wasn't his button, and he cried it wasn't his button, now he's wailing. That button is square, my button was round. It's not the wrong shape. Toad put the square button in his pocket. This is probably quite good for, children preschool age. They learn colours, learn numbers, learn shapes, and learn sizes. Well, big, little is pretty vague, but the others are quite nice, specific ways of describing things. So that's fun. So he stuffs that in his pocket too. Frog and Toad. Now it's Frog and Toad. You see, Toad and Frog, Frog and Toad. Doesn't matter. Equal. Frog and Toad went back to the river. That was the last place they went on their long walk, if you recall. They looked for the button in the mud. That won't be easy. Here is your button, said Frog. Well done. That is not my button, shouted Toad. So he's cross now. Was upset, now he's cross, shouting. That button is thin. My button was thick. So that's width. Now he had size, like big and little was, I guess, the diameter. And now he's talking about the width. Toad put the thin button in his pocket. He was very angry while he has been shouting. He jumped up and down and screamed. The whole world is covered with buttons, and not one of them is mine. He looks very cross. And Frog, I think his name is, over here somewhere, he is looking a bit upset. He's got his hands in his pockets. There's all his buttons searching and finding, but he's not come up with, not made his mate happy. Toad ran home and slammed the door. That's what angry people do. They slam doors. There, on the floor, he saw his white, four-holed, big, round, thick button. Pretty sure that's consistent with what they've been saying earlier. About, you'd check that, wouldn't you? If you were writing this story, you wouldn't accidentally get it the wrong colour or something in the end. Yeah. So those are all the characteristics that it's supposed to have. Oh, said Toad, it was here all the time. What a lot of trouble I have made for Frog. And the Sparrow and the Raccoon. He's basically scrambled all the, what do you call them, riverside folk. Toad took all of the buttons out of his pocket. He took his sewing box down from the shelf. Toad sewed the buttons all over his jacket. Seems like a bizarre thing to do. I guess buttons don't have to always be connected to buttonholes. You can have a button that says that you're in favour of nuclear disarmament or something, or at least non-proliferation. And you can just have that button there. It doesn't have to be a button used for doing up your jacket. The next day, Toad gave his jacket to Frog. Frog thought that it was beautiful. He put it on and jumped for joy. None of the buttons fell off. Toad had sewed them on very well. Well, that's a nice ending. He's good at sewing. And this is a nice picture at the end. You can really see Frog leaping or jumping for joy, and Toad now without a jacket. He's not come off too well of that, because he thought he just had lost a button, and now he's lost a whole jacket. On the other hand, maybe he has another jacket somewhere. Or maybe he can just get one. But yeah, I think the implication that he sewed them on very well is that because he knew he was doing it for his best mate, he put lots of effort in. And he was sorry for making Frog go to all that effort of searching. So as a way of apology, he put lots of effort into his sewing. They don't say he tried really hard or anything, but the fact that he'd sewed them on very well, he didn't just do a slapdash job. So well done, Toad, you gotta say. Redeemed himself in the end. Maybe if Toad had had someone like Toad to sew the button on his original jacket, they never would have lost that button, and then you wouldn't have had a story to start with. But it's nice that we did. It's a nice story. Again, like some of the others, you have lots of the repetition, that is not my button, and then I like the way you have these categories that children are probably learning. And even, I mean, I didn't show it in great detail, but even some of the pictures, if you look closely, there are 4 holes in the 4-holed button and 2 in the 2-hole button. So those are nice little touches where the author and illustrator, I believe Arnold Lobel, I believe he draws the pictures and does the words. He's concentrated and not messed it up. Or if he did, his continuity editing person has helped him sort it out. So there you go, another excellent story from Frog and Toad, and I'll see you next time for another of Mr. Bench's book reviews. Bye!